Welcome back, Warrior. So we are reading Doctrine and Covenants section 71, and there's an amazing verse in here, and I'm going to show it to you right now so that we can look forward to it. And this is like the picture for it. Anyways, you won't be able to read it backwards, or maybe you can, but it says, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper." Isn't that amazing? I love that. So I'm excited to get into this one. Okay, so the historical background is in December 1831, Joseph was at the farm of John and Elsa Johnson working on the translation of the Bible when Elsa Johnson met the prophet Joseph. She could not lift one of her hands as high as her head due to arthritis. Okay, so she couldn't do this, right? Imagine how such an ailment would have impacted her life of the life of a woman. Oh, there's so many things you do up here, like your hair, your face, and like if you're trying to reach for something, everything like just above right there would be so hard, right? And so she lived on the farm, would need to churn her own butter, knead her own bread, that like the muscles that you have to use, scrub her family's laundry, and then when you hang them up, right? And all other sorts of daily tasks. Also, just for the record, my mom has arthritis, and she had a restaurant that she was working out of her home, and making food for people, and she had to stop that because of the arthritis. It was just getting really bad. So yeah, that makes sense. So at this first meeting, Joseph walked up to Elsa and said to her, "Woman, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I command thee to be whole." And Joseph then walked away, and Elsa was instantly healed. The next day, she did her own laundry without any difficulty or pain. Can you imagine if you were that woman? And I love that he walked up to her. So many times in the scriptures, the Lord meets us where we're at. And so the fact that the Lord met her, or the fact that through Joseph Smith, right? The fact that the prophet of the Lord met Elsa where she was and blessed her is just so special to me, because sometimes we think like, oh, we have to set aside a bunch of time so we can connect with the Lord, which we love to do, right? We totally love to do this. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. And the fact that he can come to us wherever we are is just such a tender mercy, because he knows the women, he knows his daughters. Okay. And then Ezra Booth had witnessed this miracle and was then baptized. However, Ezra had not developed much faith, and his faith soon wavered. Yeah, because you can't just have miracles as your base of testimony. You have to have that relationship with Christ yourself. That could get you interested in a relationship with Christ for sure, but that could only last so long, right? And his faith soon wavered. He traveled to Independence and was unimpressed with Zion. Because I would be too. It doesn't look like this suburbia we have now, huh? He soon became critical of Joseph, and when the Lord chastised Ezra left the church and became an outspoken critic. That's sad. Ezra published 9 letters in the Ohio Star newspaper and participated in the tarring and feathering of Joseph. Ooh, that's not cool. I'm sure he's going to have to deal with something later. So shortly after so this is a quote from Matthew McBride. He says, shortly after his return to Ohio, Ezra Booth parted ways with the church in a very public fashion because his experience did not match his expectations of how Zion should look or how Joseph Smith should behave. First of all, you're shitting all over this place, so that's bad. It's the one thing. Okay. Anyway, so then continuing the quote, he first wavered and then abandoned his faith. Beginning that October, the Ohio Star, a newspaper located in Ravenna, Ohio, began publishing a series of letters Booth penned, heavily criticizing Joseph Smith and the church. Like, really, like now we're going to become, instead of a nice respected newspaper, you're going to become a tabloid. Awesome. By December, his letters had even started to hinder missionary work, and Joseph Smith received 2 revelations in December 1831 and January 1832, now found in Doctrine and Covenants 71 and 73. Ooh, so this is what we're going to be reading. So then Joseph Smith's cousin, George A. Smith, wrote of Ezra Booth. While he was in apostasy, he searched his cranium for some means of justify himself and published a series of lying letters. End quote. Stephen C. Harper, Making Sense of the Doctrine and Covenants. Okay, so due to the letters that were now being read by the public, the Lord gave Joseph this revelation and wanted Joseph to go forth preaching the gospel. The Lord knew that this was an opportunity for those reading the letters to learn the truth of the gospel. I love that the Lord's always so positive, even when there's negative stuff going on, right? Joseph was to put aside the translation of the Bible and preach the gospel in the regions that these lies were being published. Holy, like, not only are we just going to keep preaching, we're going to specifically target those areas. So we should definitely look up this stat. But you know, the Book of Mormon movie, the one that they put on Broadway, that's a complete mess and doesn't really share good values of like what actually happens in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints missionaries' lives. Yeah. So anyway, like, I wonder if we have good statistics about before that movie came out on Broadway, or before that play came out on Broadway, and after that play came out on Broadway. Like, what are the conversion rates, right? And then recently there's a movie or a TV series. It's supposed to be like a, what is it? A reality TV. That's what I wanted to say. And it's something like The Hidden Lives of Mormon Wives. And like, I would probably like reword that to The Hidden Lies of Mormon Wives, because I haven't watched it, okay? But from what I can tell from what other people have said, it basically depicts the lives of these women who are not active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, except for maybe one of them. And so, but then they go to do all these things that would not be in, and I'm a Latter-day Saint wife, but probably people consider me in that group of Mormon wives, and that is not the life that I live. And so anyways, it's so interesting that you know, Satan's just trying to put ideas in people's heads, and the things that happen in there, like, although super real to those women, it's not necessarily real to all the women in the church, if that makes sense. And so I love that there's some people out there that are trying to take advantage of this reality TV to open conversation about our religion and what goes on, and to help people understand our values and the things that we believe, because they have been introduced to the church in that way through that reality TV. So anyway, like, I think that's cool that some people are doing that. And obviously that's what the Lord wants us to do. It's like, oh, look, somebody took the time to give us bad publicity. We should take advantage of it. And in the marketing world, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So I love that the Lord knows that, like, the inventor of taking negative things and turning them for our benefit is just trying to do the same thing, you know, and trying to teach us how to do that. Okay, so this is the section heading Revelation given to Joseph Smith the prophet and Sidney Rigdon at Hiram, Ohio, December 1st, 1831. Hey, my mom's birthday. The prophet had continued to translate, well, she wasn't born in 1831, but you know what I'm saying. The prophet had continued to translate the Bible with Sidney Rigdon as his scribe until this revelation was received, at which time it was temporarily laid aside so as to assemble them to fulfill the instruction given herein. The brethren were to go forth to preach in order to ally the unfriendly feelings that had developed against the church as a result of the publication of letters written by Ezra Booth, who had apostatized. Okay. Which I think is, again, I think is strange, right? Like naturally you'd be like, what? But then if you think about it, you're like, actually, yes, it makes sense. People are going to have questions about things and people are going to want to know a little bit more. And here we come. Here comes the missionaries trying to help you, you know. Is that talk from President Nelson? Ask the missionaries. They can help you. Okay, so Doctrine and Covenants, section 71, verses 1 to 6. Okay, hold on. There are going to be 11 verses in this. So, okay, behold, thus saith the Lord unto you, my servants, Joseph Smith Jr. and Sidney Rigdon, that the time has verily come, that it is necessary and expedient in me that you should open your mouths in proclaiming my gospel. Oh, sorry, hold on. Let's start my walking. Proclaiming my gospel, the things of the kingdom, expounding the mysteries thereof out of the scriptures, according to the portion of spirit and power which shall be given unto you, even as I will. Verily I say unto you, proclaim unto the world in the regions round about, and in the church also, for the space of a season, even until it shall be made known unto you. Verily this is a mission for a season, which I give unto you. Wherefore labor ye in my vineyard, call upon the inhabitants of the earth, and bear record, and prepare the way for the commandments and revelations which are to come. Now behold, this is wisdom. Whoso readeth, let him understand, and receive also. For unto him that receiveth, it shall be given more abundantly, even power. Okay. So when the Lord teaches leaders of the church regarding our enemies, what does the Lord teach the leaders of the church regarding our enemies? Rather than telling them to ignore Ezra or fight him, the Lord commanded Joseph and Sidney to open your mouths in proclaiming my gospel, the things of the kingdom, expounding the mysteries thereof, out of the scriptures, according to that portion of the spirit and power which shall be given unto you. Or in other words, take advantage of this moment, capitalize on these false teachings, and teach truth. Since the people are learning about the restored gospel, even though it's through an antagonistic source, stand up and speak out. This is a moment to take hold of the conversation and stand as a witness of truth. I love it. A number of years ago, the church did something similar in the playbill that each patron would receive who attended the Book of Mormon musical in Los Angeles. Oh, no way. This is good. I did not know this. The church purchased ad space in each playbill that read, I've read the book, or the book is always better. You can read a Deseret News article about this by following this QR code. Oh, I wonder if it'll work if I show you the QR code. I don't know, but we should definitely look that up, right? We should look it up because I'm so curious as to what the ad looked like. Oh, I didn't even know they took out an ad. That's so cool. Joseph's response to the Lord's command in this revelation shows that Joseph was no longer afraid of man, and neither was Sidney. They understood what the Lord would have them do at that particular moment, and they were happy to do it. Joseph and Sidney left on their journey to preach, and they began their mission in Kirtland. Notice how Joseph started this statement when he wrote this. Knowing now the mind of the Lord, that the time had come, that the gospel should be proclaimed in power and demonstration to the world, from the scriptures, reasoning with men as in days of old, I took a journey to Kirtland in company with Elder Sidney Rigdon on the 3rd day of December to fulfill the above revelation. That's so cool. It only took him 2 days to get going. Holy smokes. Okay, this is found in the Joseph Smith papers. Okay, so also, I think it's so interesting how, it's always probably, hard, and I'm only saying this because I've tried to pick up combos with people about the Book of Mormon, and it is so hard, mostly, next to somebody on a plane, and it is, so hard. So, and if you've done this, you know that it's, super awkward. You just have to have the Book of Mormon open and then hope that they, say, what are you reading? But, these days, people don't care because they have their own headphones, right? Anyway, and so the fact that, the Lord was take advantage of this, do this, would be super cool because now you have an in. Now you have something in common with this person. Or like they are reading about the church and you're in the church. Like, boom, you are able to answer all their questions immediately, right? Maybe I should watch that show. I feel like that show would be very triggering from the interviews that I've read, because it is a lot of unfaithful infidelity going on between the couples and things. And so I don't know if I could watch it. But you also have to know yourself. Like, don't subject yourself to things like that if that's not something that you're able to withstand for yourself, you know? Like, if it's going to send you into some kind of spiral and chemical spill and depression, like, because you have this fear that your husband's going to leave you for some other gal, like this is why I couldn't watch it. That's why I had to read articles about it, and see interviews with those sisters. I'm gonna call them sisters because everyone's my sister. So, but they want to claim being part of our religion, so I'm gonna call them sisters for that reason as well. But yeah, like, because of those sisters because they have gone through so many things that, I mean, I've probably gone through and don't want to go through again, or in a similar way. Like, I don't think I can handle it. But if that's your cup of tea, go ahead. Your cup of herbal tea, right? Anyway, so yeah, I think it's so cool that the Lord is like, yeah, let's use this, you know? So you just got to equip yourself, right? Like, if there's something that those letters say, know your doctrine, right? Like, know how to, but like, you have now this commonality that you can go and talk to these people because you have like a door. You now have a door. Whereas before, the door is like, there's no door, there's no wall, like it's just a full wall, right? But now there's a door. So, or maybe even a window, you know, something that can be opened. Whereas before it was just like nothing, right? So I think that's cool. And I think I'm going to have to read that ad in the playbill for the play of the Book of Mormon play, right? Remember that? Okay, so wherefore confound your enemies, call upon them to meet you both in public and in private, and inasmuch as ye are faithful, their shame shall be made manifest. Wherefore let them bring forth their strong reasons against the Lord. Verily thus saith the Lord unto you, there is no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. Let's see, hold on, let me read that again. That's a good verse, remember? Verily thus saith the Lord unto you, there is no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. I'm going to have to read that in the... Yeah, I guess that there's no comma. There's no comma anywhere. So, and we'll read it one more time. Verily thus saith the Lord unto you, there is no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. Okay, and if any man lift his voice against you, he shall be confounded in mine own due time. Wherefore, keep my commandments. They are true and faithful. Even so, amen. Okay, so confounding our enemies. We love this concept. We love this idea. We love everything about this. So as the lies about the church were spreading, the Lord commanded Joseph and Sidney to confound your enemies. Call upon them to meet you both in public and in private. And inasmuch as ye are faithful, their shame shall be manifest. Okay, so let them bring forth their strong reasons against the Lord. Now you might think, oh, of course they're going to bring these reasons to like the prophet and his counselor, or you know what I mean? And so it's easy for us to think like, well, of course they're going to know what to say. But remember, they don't know. If you have been a member since you were 8 years old, and let's pretend that even throughout that whole time from like 8 to 18, you didn't pay attention, right? But then you started paying attention maybe at 18, or let's even pretend that at 18 till like whatever age, 2 years before us now, we know more than these people did back then, right? Or at least we could know more than these people did back then. Why? Because we've been immersed in the gospel for so long. Even if you just were converted 2 years ago, that's already more time than they've had with the gospel, right? And so we have to remember, like, these guys are brand new and they got sent on missions and they're a prophet and whatever, like, it's just like, what? And so if they can have confidence with the Lord, having this promise that the Lord is giving them, then why don't we feel that confidence in going up and talking to our brothers and sisters about the gospel, right? So anyway, so the Lord invited them to bring forth, knowing that the truth will be made clear, and also promising that those who lift up their voices shall be confounded in his own due time, right? So this happened to each Antichrist in the Book of Mormon as well. They each had strong reasons, but in the end, they were confounded. Now, if you think in the Book of Mormon, they had the gospel of Jesus Christ longer, so of course it's justified that they knew how to confound the people, the Antichrist. Okay, but sure, I get that. But what about these guys? These guys they have not been members of the church for very long. So, and if the Lord will promise them these things, he definitely promises us these things, right? And so that's so cool. So then Ezra and Simon's writer, another former saint who left the church because his name was misspelled in a revelation. Oh, that is sad, right? And that's not the Lord. That's man, So, but I guess I could see how he could be upset. Like the Lord didn't tell him to correct it later, right? Maybe, I don't know. Plus, yeah. Anyways, maybe his parents misspelled it. Maybe the Lord meant for his name to be that, and he's been misspelling it his whole life. No, just kidding. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, they refused the invitation to meet and discuss the lies, of course, because they knew what was up. They would not come toe-to-toe with Joseph and Sidney, but they also did not go away. In fact, they will both soon be part of the tarring and feathering of Joseph Smith, which is so sad. Like, nobody should ever do that to another human being, Like your heart is not right, So then here's a quote from Elder Neal A. Maxwell. He says, "True, the enemies and the critics of the Lord's work will not relent. They only regroup. Even among the flock, here and there, and formed from time to time, are a few wolves wearing various styles of sheep's clothing. Ironically, just before the shearing season, a few defectors and high-minded traders even go directly to the great and spacious building to hire on. Their recruits are celebrated and feted until, like their predecessors, they have faded into the dark swamps of history. As President Heber C. Kimball said, divine justice will eventually require that they pay all the debt of all the trouble that they have brought upon the innocent," end quote. Okay, and then that's from Elder Neal A. Maxwell, quote from "For I Lead You Along," April 1988 General Conference. Okay, and then speaking of these scriptures, President Harold B. Lee taught this. What he is trying to have us understand is that he will take care of our enemies if we continue to keep the commandments. So you saints of the Most High God, when these things come, and they will come, this has been prophesied. You just say, no weapon formed against the work of the Lord will ever prosper, but all glory and majesty of this work that the Lord gave will long be remembered after those who have tried to befoul their names, and the name of the church will be forgotten, and their works will follow after them. We feel sorry for them when we see these things happen," end quote. Harold B. Lee, Stand Ye in Holy Places. See that? It is so amazing how the Lord can just take anything and turn it for good, literally anything. All right. That is it for Doctrine and Covenants section 71. And if the Lord can take any negative thing or any bad thing then and make it for his good, then can't we, with his help? We can too, with his help. Turn anything bad, negative, anything that's happened to us, and turn it for good, right? I love the saying, things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And that is like the Lord's motto, I guess, because that's what it sounds like. So I love that so much. Okay, and then we're going to read the Read It, Live It. Just got to stop walking because I can't read the fuzzy. Okay, it says, sometimes the Lord gives us a mission for a season, a place we remain in until it is made known to us to change. What is your mission this season? Continue your labor. Ooh, that's so good. All right, until section 72, stay strong, warrior.